All right. What everybody? What's up, everybody? This is What's Good Phoenix, man. I'm your host, Awer.
And I'm DJ Tranzo.
And today we have a very special guest, man, Dave Miranda, man, of Just Give Me Five.
Where's my applause button? Yeah.
What's going on,
That's
fellas?
good, man. How you doing, brother?
I'm doing great. I'm blessed, man. Thank you guys for having me.
Oh man, thanks for being here, man. We get to actually like interview the interviewer this time.
That's right.
That's the first thing I said when he said we're getting Dave Miranda, and I was like, oh, we get to interview the interview. That's
Right.
That's dope.
Yeah,
That's
honored
dope.
honored and blessed, bro, because, I mean, we're new to this. We've been doing this for probably, maybe a year? Maybe? Possibly?
Maybe.
Yeah, so it was super fun seeing, like, man, you're super busy and you're just like nonstop, bro. Which it's amazing, like the people that you just keep getting, man. I'm just like, damn,
Right.
like fire. Like you should
Yeah.
have your own show, like now, like not only like your radio show and your show,
yeah.
but like a show. You know what I mean? Like a
Yeah.
series somewhere. So
It's called Phoenix Netflix,
yeah,
right?
yeah.
Copyright. I just copyrighted that right now.
Yeah, that's what's up, man.
So again, man, thanks for coming out, Mr.
Yeah, man,
Mr.
absolutely.
Mr. Miranda. He's also called, right?
Yes, sir.
Mr. Miranda, or as other people know him as Dave Miranda.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. So you've been doing stuff in Phoenix for a minute. So let's I take it back all the way with everybody. Like let's take it back to the beginning.
Yeah.
To where were you born?
Born and raised in Arizona. I know these days, man, it sounds like crazy to say that you're a native. You know what I'm saying? Like
Yeah.
the natives
Yeah.
are like the outsiders now, right? You know what I mean? Like, really? You're from here? Yeah, man. Born and raised. Grew up in East Phoenix.
Oh, so you're from Phoenix?
Yeah.
Phoenix boy. Yeah.
That's it.
Grew up in Phoenix. He's by the Celebrity Theater, 32nd and Roosevelt area. Man, just grew up in the scene out here. Been an avid hip hop fan, since I was 6 years old. Seeing Run DMC and Eric B and Rakim and Kid and Play. You know what I'm saying? Back in the day.
I was gonna be like, man, you were real young then, when
I was young. I'm 40 years old now, so you do the math. You know what I mean?
So who introduced you to all that at that young age?
Yeah, how'd you get inspired?
Man, it was just
The bug.
Was it your dad or your Theo or cousin? We hear different stories about who introduced him to him.
Yeah, to be honest with you, as far as like just being introduced to music and everything, period, I got to give it up to my uncle Mario. So my mom's baby brother, he's a musician as well.
Shout out Mario.
Shout out Mario.
You know what I mean? And so he's in a band out here called Shining Star. He plays bass. He's been out here for many, many years.
Are they still currently playing?
Oh yeah.
Oh man!
Yeah.
So anybody listening to this, look them up. Shining Star.
Mario Mendeville.
Hopefully they have some social media. If not,
I believe it's at Shining Star Band.
how cool! At least we can give them a little bit of shine.
Of course, yeah, for sure. So he, so growing up in my grandmother's house, he's the baby of all the four siblings, my mom's siblings. And so he was still living there, he was like 18, 19, and he was doing music. He was on the come up at that point. At the time, he was in a band called Straight from the Heart. So this was in like the mid to late 80s.
Here in Phoenix.
Man, that's like Phoenix music history, man. I'm learning right here too.
So, right. So they were a band called Straight from the Heart, and that's where he met his wife. His wife now, Jody Light. She's the lead singer of the band, Shining Star as well. I remember just going in his room, and because my nana would be like, mijo, go tell your uncle, dinner's ready. You know what I mean? You know what I'm saying? Like, and I'd just be young, but I'd always want to be around it because he's also my godfather. You know what I'm saying? That's my Nino. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. So like, I would go in there, just to see what he was, just to watch him play. You know what I'm saying? Because he'd have his bass guitar, and he'd be in there, and he's the one who put me on to Prince. So that's really when it originally started. I was like, he put me on to Prince because, Prince was like the best, guitar player ever. Like, as far as musicianship, like he was just so intrigued by him, right? So
yeah, shout out Prince.
Oh yeah. So like I walked in there and he's watching the video. This was when MTV was just kind of starting out. You know what I mean? And so, like Yo MTV Raps wasn't on there yet. They weren't playing hip hop. It took Aerosmith collaborating with Run DMC for Walk This Way.
I do remember that when I was a
really
kid.
help the transition into hip hop, and then that's when Yo MTV Rap started. But originally, it wasn't They didn't even have a lot.
I remember that on Channel 61 when I was little.
Right,
you remember Channel 61?
Yeah.
It was fuzzy. I don't know if you remember that.
Well, I remember Channel 58, the box. But
that
we'll get into that.
That was later, but the box is the bomb. Yeah.
Yeah. So he put me onto that. So I was just like, whoa, like this is crazy. And then just watching him play, watching Prince, and then shortly after that, that's when I really started watching a lot of like MTV when I could, and just kind of getting just seeing what it was all about, watching all this music, taking in it as a young kid. You know what I mean? A year later, I'm like 6 years old, and I see.
I mean, that's real young too to be soaking that in.
Oh yeah, you know what I mean? It was just. But my parents, they're not musicians, but they're just music lovers. You know what I'm saying? And I have such an eclectic, diverse taste, because my pops was into oldies, and he was also into classic rock. Wow. So my pops got me into like Eric Clapton, Billy Joel. You know what I'm saying? Like these kind of artists, right? And then my mother was into, like soul music, oldies, you know what I'm saying? She liked Spanish music as well. So, my nana's big was Julio Iglesias. Like that was like he was a god to her. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So, but mainly it was so my mom would put me on, she'd be playing like, Aretha Franklin, you know what I'm saying? Patti LaBelle, Teddy Pendergrass, Al
all
Green.
That good stuff.
Yeah, you know what I mean? So I got into that. So it was just this mixture, right? So the music was there.
About how old were you again?
I mean, at this point, 5, you know what I'm saying? Like, just a kid, you know what I mean? Sure. Like just, and then like 80s pop, you know what I mean? So then it was like Tears for Fears, you know what I mean? Pet Shop Boys, you know what I'm saying? So now it's like the Human League, you know what I mean? Like you're
the other good stuff.
All this stuff is just going like, Madonna, right? In the back in that day, right? Just all this stuff, right? So so my taste is so I could take it anywhere, you know what I mean? Like that's, and I feel like that helps in life, period, because it states that you're an open-minded person. You know what I mean? You don't want to have, I just listen to this, you're closed-minded, you know what I'm saying? There might be something else, give this a shot, see how you like it. And it just opens you up to a wide range of things. That way you can have different conversations, People could be like, yeah, man, like if it's just hip hop, it's like, okay. But then somebody comes in and says, yeah, man, you remember that Billy Idol record? Man, you remember when he was on the soundtrack of this? You know what I mean? Yeah. It's just, it makes for good conversation, right? So you're open-minded. So going from that and then seeing Run DMC and then, obviously Kid and Play, it just changed everything, man. Like I was like, I really like this. Like I love everything else, don't get me wrong, but I really, really love this. You know what I'm saying? I love the way this makes me feel. I just love the expression. I love the fashion, like the gear, the image. It just looks great. You know what I'm saying? Like I really love it. And that's like really when it started.
It's like all the other genres are like a segue, man, to the like the hip hop music and the rap music. Because that's It's crazy, man. You're sharing the story, and I have a similar story, which is insane, man. Like next to my Nana's house, there was a white family, and they had like Harley Davidsons, and they're working on Harleys and stuff.
Okay,
and they were listening to like Van Halen and stuff, right? But then at my Nana's, he was working on the little lowrider cars, and they're washing his lowrider and stuff, and listening to like oldies and all that stuff, and you just get a very different mix, man, when you're growing up, and that's kind of how it was for me as well. You know what I mean? Where I think we're all like that. Where we kind of got like a mixing pot of all kinds of music and stuff.
Oh yeah, and growing up in the neighborhood I grew up in, like no one else was really on that tip. You know what I'm saying? Like so, it's like you kind of had a. I mean, I've always been that type of dude where like I never really gave a damn what people thought. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, you liked what you liked.
I like what I like, man. You know what I mean? So, but it was one of those things where it wasn't cool to say that you listened to an alternative rock song in the early 90s or something. You know what I mean? Or something like that. It was like, it had to be like, growing up out here, it had to be West Coast gangster rap or, you know what I'm saying? Like, or B-boy music, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Nucleus, Houdini, you know what I'm saying? Like records that are going to be, that kind of set. But,
I remember those days where things were kind of like, separated and
oh, absolutely.
and
very
labeled, so to speak.
For sure.
But that's and I have conversations about nowadays and how everything is just more open-minded as far as music taste.
Yeah.
Right.
You have currently DJs who do open format, and before that wasn't a thing. Open format, you just play dope jams.
You just play,
doesn't matter what genre that jam is.
Exactly.
And so that's what kind of the idea of open format DJing is, and that's, I think that's a result of the being open, more minded about music.
Absolutely, man.
And on both sides, from DJs and from the audience,
Completely, bro. Like you in those days, you could go to a club and the DJ would go from Salt and Pepper to Arrested Development, to Public Enemy, to NWA, you know what I mean, to Too Short, you know what I mean, to Hammer, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
He's taking you on these like different emotions, and it's all fresh. They weren't considered throwbacks. These were in the moment. These were records that were like in rotation at that moment. And it's like you knew, like, you knew the difference.
Mm-hmm.
The problem is now is that everything just sounds like one long song.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, there's the new music.
Yeah, it's just like I wouldn't be able to tell you who these people were if I saw them. You know what I mean? Because they literally all just sound the same. And, you got to remember at that time, everyone wanted to sound different.
Correct.
Mm-hmm.
Especially in hip hop, no biting allowed. That was the model, right?
Yeah.
So you didn't want to sound like KRS-One. You wanted to sound like you. You didn't want to sound like Cube. You wanted to sound like you. But you wanted to make your mark that way, right? But of course, everybody gets inspired by somebody.
Yeah.
Ice-T was inspired by Schoolie D. You know what I'm saying? Like, so you have him.
Well, I was just listening to a podcast or an interview with Sun Doobie.
Okay, yeah.
And it was with Be Real, and Be Real was talking about how Sun Doobie he can easily see that he was inspired by Big Daddy Kane.
Oh yeah,
and Be Real was like, you used to rap just like Big Daddy Kane,
right?
Until you morphed and found your style.
Yeah.
So he kind of explained it made a lot of sense to me anyway. Like, you go off of your influences.
Oh, of course.
But then you build on that into something that you create your own.
You take bits and pieces.
Absolutely. Michael Jackson was inspired by James Brown. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. But he made it his own when he danced.
James Brown was inspired by Little Richard.
Right. See? It's always something, right?
So, but yeah, so I mean those are great stories, you know what I'm saying?
Man.
That's what we try to trying to peel out of everybody's head when we
absolutely,
tell
man. And
great connection stories.
So that's when when the bug started. You know what I mean? And then it was like, okay, so now, then when I was 13 years old, I got to shout out my uncle again, man, my Theo Mario, because he was the one. He used to have a little 2-bedroom apartment in North Phoenix, and one for the studio, one for him and Jody. And he recorded my first mixtape when I was in 8th grade. You know what I'm saying? I was 13 years old, and we did, well, I mean, they were like pause tapes at the time. They were literally cassette mixtapes. And I recorded that just on some instrumental stuff, you know what I mean? Using other joints, you know what I'm saying?
No, but how fresh is that to have somebody, take you under their wing and be like,
let me,
and I tell that all the time too. I don't mean to cut in again, but a lot of our generation are self-taught.
Oh yeah,
and it would have been kind of like, I wouldn't say nice or cool, but for somebody to do that, exactly that, or
exactly.
I think some of us would have excelled a lot faster.
Oh, definitely, man.
So if you have any kids or you have anybody that you look out for that shows an interest in something, support it.
Even just pulling out some records. Playing some records, playing some tapes. You know what I mean? You have a tape player. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Just inspiring somebody.
Me sitting in the room with him.
Yeah.
Watching him play. That was it. You know what I'm saying?
Oh, that's a major influence in itself.
Oh yeah. You know what I mean? It's a positive influence. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Yeah.
And,
definitely.
And so, so we recorded a mixtape then, and I was just like giving it to like people at school. You know what I mean? I'm in 8th grade. You know
13.
You know what I mean?
Wow.
And
giving away cassette tapes.
You know what I mean? Like, and then transitioning into high school from there. I didn't really record. It's funny. So I recorded that, and then I didn't record anything in high school. But I was battling. I was going to freestyles, like house parties. Just getting out there. I was really nice off the top of the head. I haven't freestyled in years, but I used to be able to really do it be nasty off the top of the head. And so we used to just get in ciphers at house parties, right? And then like when I was a junior in high school, we go to like ASU parties, you know what I mean? And there'd be cats there that freestyled, you know what I'm saying? And funny thing is, man, like a lot of them would be white boys. And they would be nice, you know what I'm saying? Like, because they were hip hop heads. You know what I'm saying? Like, you go to a Wu-Tang show, 85% of them is Caucasian. you know what I mean, in the crowd.
True.
They're hip hop heads, you know what I'm saying? So like we'd be there like just having fun, man. You know what I mean? Like being around like-minded people, but I was constantly doing that. Just getting out there. You know, I used to go to Minder Binders when they used to do the freestyle battles.
I remember Minder Binders.
You know what I mean? You know what I mean? I started going there when I was like 17. And then
we used to do those shows there too at Minder Binders.
Oh yeah, Minder Binders was dope. So we would do that. And then when I was 19, I went to South Mount Community College. And I met a cat there, my man James. We used to call him Big James because he's like literally like the Mexican Suge Knight. You know what I'm saying? Like he's like 6'5", you know what I mean? Just the size, got the beard, everything, right? So he was going to school there. And at the time he was not managing, but he was kind of like helping a cat named Verbal, right? And so Verbal was an MC from Chicago, Southside Chicago, had been living out here. And he sounded identical. I mean, identical to Tupac Shakur. Identical, even his speaking voice. It was. I
ran into a few rappers, like not many, but I ran into.
It was
two or three rappers that. Oh man, I was like, they sound like just like Tupac.
Oh, it was because you had like Death Row had the Realist, you know what I'm saying, like and then you had Top Dog who sounded like Snoop, you know what I mean, but. I mean, it was like his speaking voice sounded like him. Like if you closed your eyes and you would swear Tupac was in the room. You know what I mean? And so he was an older cat. You know what I'm saying? Like I was 19. He was probably like in his early 30s. So older at the time than me. So we started running around. You know what I mean? And they took me to a studio. This cat named Pig, right? He used to have a studio on 9th Street in Baseline. And there was.
You know him, right?
Yeah. I know.
You know
Pig from here? From
from South Phoenix.
Yeah.
So we went over to Pig's crib. And, and this was like, I mean, he had the glass.
I mean, if it's the same Pig.
Yeah, it's the only one.
It should be. Yeah.
Big dude.
Yeah. So he had the whole glass booth, you know what I'm saying? Like you see in the movies, you know what I mean? Like, like the real deal. I never been in one of those. Prior to that, you know what I'm saying? Like I just told you, I was recording in my uncle's 2-bedroom little apartment, you know what I'm saying? I had never been in nothing like this.
Yeah.
So I'm in there and I'm like, wow, you know what I mean? And it's funny, at the time I went by D Smooth.
D Smooth.
That was my name back then, right? Yeah. You know what I mean? And then I kind of cut that off and I went into Smooth. So it was like so a lot of people from back then.
Was it MC Smooth or just Smooth?
Just Smooth, you know what I mean? And then I was like, you know what, man, this is gonna be this is a dime a dozen. There's 100 million Smooths out there. You know what I'm saying? Actually ended up coming across one on MySpace that was down with Pete Rock. He wasn't tripping. He actually was a fan of my music, but he was just kind of on some like, man, what a cool, you know what I mean? Like we both had the same name. So after that happened, I was like, yeah, man, I might need to change this up. You know what I'm saying? And I'm still in the beginning stages where it's not going to affect anything, right? Mm-hmm. So fast forward time. So started working on. So did. Running around with Verbal and James. Then I started working at the spot called eTelecare. They were a third party to Singular Wireless. Remember Singular Wireless? Mm-hmm. So this was, I want to say 03.
I was going to ask you about around
then. And I started working in this call center and everybody worked there, man. Like I'm talking like Poker Face worked there. Like all these people were working there, right? Anybody who was trying to be somebody in the scene worked there, right? So I'm there, and
it was the rapper's backup plan.
But models, female singers, you name it, everybody, bro.
That's good though. Everybody needs a second hustle. Everybody needs,
you know what I mean. So I met tons of people there that I know to this day. But so we all worked there. We were doing our thing, and this cat Terrence, I remember he was like, "Yo, Dave," he goes, you rap, right? You know what I'm saying? Like, have you got anything recorded? I was like, not really, man. You know what I mean? Like, I'm just kind of doing like open mics and, little stuff here and there. He goes, okay. He goes, well, I know this cold ass white boy, man. You know what I'm saying? Like he's an engineer and he be mixing my cousin's stuff and he's dope, man. Like, you know what I'm saying? I'm gonna put you in contact with him. So this is 03, right? So there's no like text messaging or nothing like that still. Yeah. You know what I mean? So he goes, I'm going to put you in contact with him. His name's Nightbreed. And I was like, okay.
Nightbreed. Yeah. I remember Nightbreed.
Yeah. And I was like, okay. And so now Nightbreed was the engineer for Cutthroat Logic, you know what I mean? For Justice and all them. So they used to have a studio on Third Avenue in McDowell, across the street from the McDonald or the Jack in the Box, that art gallery right there.
Yeah,
that was where the studio was at. So I call him up because there's no text. Like, you got to call people at this time, right? You know what I'm saying? Like, so I hit him up and, you know, I'm like, yo, man, like, you know what I'm saying? How you doing, man? Da, 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 da. Like, I'm looking for studio time and da, da, da. He goes, word. Okay. Yeah. Come on through, man. Like, you know what I'm saying? I'm available, you know, next Thursday. And I was like, all right, straight, man. You know what I mean? And the good thing about that, man, is that is not having text at that time is that you really, I mean, we grew up being social anyway, right? We had no choice.
Yeah.
But you really, it helped because you could determine the outcome of moving forward from that exact point, right? Like just from the conversation, right? If this guy just seemed like he was an a-hole, you know what I'm saying, or something, you know what I mean? You don't know, right? But it was the tone, because anybody could text you back like, yeah, cool. You don't know if that's like, if this person's a psycho or whatever, right? But when you talk to somebody on the phone, you really get a chance to like kind of feel
if you're going to build
feel
with
the temperature. You know what I mean?
Yeah, true. I mean, it's energy, and
it's the energy, right?
Travels,
it's like, now this guy seemed cool. I feel comfortable going here, right?
Sure.
So he seemed cool, man. So I roll up. I started recording. I was still on some mixtape stuff, so I didn't have no original beats. So I'm doing this like, you know, industry beats type stuff, right? And he had it unplugged. It was really interesting. To this day, I've never been in a studio with somebody that keeps the mics unplugged, right? Meaning who's ever in the studio can hear the artist rapping, like recording, like raw. They won't hear the music, but they can hear the artist, right? So I didn't know that, you know what I mean? So I'm in the booth recording, and all of a sudden I see Justice, you know, come up. And he's like bobbing his head. He's like, you know, like this. And I'm like, is he just going off of my actions? You know what I'm saying? Like, you know what I mean? Like, you know what? I didn't know he could hear me. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I'm just like, you know what I mean? I'm looking at him like, all right, you know what I'm saying? Like, that's what's up.
That's a real, you know, first time in the studio. And, you know, I mean, you assume people know, but no, man. Like,
like, it's
being
like
so young and your first time in there.
And it's like, and he's just like, you know, and so he's looking at it like he could hear me spit, you know what I mean? So I come out the booth or whatever, and he was like, dog, you dope, bro. And he goes, where are you from? And I was like, thank you, man. You know, I'm from here. And he goes, like, just moved here or like from here? You know what I mean? And I go, born and raised, bro. He goes, wow, man. He goes, and you don't sound like a lot of cats here. He goes, I'm Justice, man. He goes, I'm from a group out here called Cutthroat Logic. And I go, and I hadn't heard of them. I wasn't gonna lie to him and be like, yeah, I heard you guys. You know what I mean? Like, no, I never heard of them. You know what I mean? But I was like, that's what's up, man. You know, I was like, you know, so we talk and everything. And he's like, you know, you need anything, you know, like, this is our office. You know, like, we'll help you any way we can. So me and Justice have been cool like 21 years. And
shout out Justice and Cutthroat. You know, they're old school.
Yeah, you know, and he's doing Respect the Underground now. He's got that and everything. But back then it was Cutthroat. So there was another cat there, tall brother, man. You know what I'm saying? Like, had a Kango on, and he came up to me, right? Super deep voice, and he was just like, "Yo, you are nice, man." He goes, you know, like I really was feeling your style, and he sounded just like Guru. You know what I mean? Like identical. And at the time he went by Novelty, and that's my man Sule. So Novelty was his stage name at the time, right? And he was on some like real hip hop stuff, you know what I mean? Like it was soulful hip hop, like, you know, like Common, you know what I mean? The Roots, you know what I'm saying? That kind of style. And so him and we hit it off then, and then he was like, yo, I know this kid who, you know, is really phenomenal with the production, with beats. And he's been recording me because I'm working on my debut album. If you want, you can come with me and we can go to the studio. And I'm like, yeah, you know what I'm saying? Like, I'm hungry, you know what I mean? So I'm like, of course, like just say when, you know what I mean? Like, we can go right now, you know what I mean?
Yeah. So
he was like, yeah, he goes, all right, bet, man. He goes, I think it was like a Wednesday. He goes, are you free Saturday morning? And I was like, yeah, absolutely. Let's do it. You know what I mean? So I roll with him and we go and he was just like, yeah, it's this kid named Eddie. And I go, cool. All right. So we're driving like far, man, like out to like Cave Creek. You know what I mean? And I'm like, man, this dude lived far. He goes, yeah, but it's worth it. Trust me. So we get there and door opens and it's a skinny tall white boy, man, that answers the door. And he's like, what's going on, man? And we chop it up or whatever, young kid. So we go upstairs and we start getting everything situated. Well, Eddie is Jimmy Nelson, who is my filming partner for Just Give Me 5. So
so you went to go see Jimmy.
But at the time he was Eddie S. He was from Society of Invisibles, and he was a producer. He was one of the main producers for them. He was one of the in-house cats, but he was Eddie S. at the time, right? So that was Eddie's his middle name. So Jimmy is his government first name. So I was like, okay. So we start working together, you know what I mean, on some stuff. And then from then I started working on my first album, and Jimmy was the one that was engineering all that. So I've known Jimmy for 21 years.
I used to work with him at our old company at Southern Glazers Wine and Spirits.
Yeah.
When I saw you guys working together, I'm like, I know Jimmy.
Yeah, man. Back in the day, he was Eddie S. He was a producer.
I didn't know that.
So he produced your first album.
He engineered it. So the first album I had was called Melodic, and I was still going by Smooth, right? So it was Smooth and Trailmatic. So shout out to my man Trailmatic out in Milwaukee. He is the one who produced the whole thing, and his sound was like Ninth Wonder, like I damn near identical. You know what I mean? And just real dope, soulful beats, right? So we started getting a buzz with that. Matlocks at the time and Squeak Boogie were doing Friday Night Flavors, so on Power. So MySpace was popping at the time still, you know what I mean? So I became cool with Matlocks because I had a record called Letter to Hip Hop. That was the first single that was off the album, and it was kind of like Common's I Used to Love Her, you know what I mean? We used the whole woman as a hip hop metaphor type thing, you know what I mean? So it was popping, people were loving it, and Madlocks was like, "Yo, I really dig the joint." At the time, man, if you got a DM they weren't DMs at the time, but it was a DM technically, right? But if you got a DM from someone showing love, like it was a big deal, you know what I mean? On MySpace, you know what I'm saying?
Yes.
And so Matlocks hits me up. And he DMs me and he's just like, yo, loving that song, you know, like Letter to Hip Hop. Like, that's a dope record. Can we play it? And I didn't know who Matlocks was at the time, right? So I was like, this is like 2005. And I was like, yeah, like, you know what I mean? But who, you know what I mean? Like, what do you work on, or what do you on and stuff? And he goes, I work for Power 92. You know what I'm saying? He goes, and I'm on, we have a show called Friday Night Flavors. And I was like, oh, yeah. But see, when I remember hearing Friday Night Flavors, Karina was still the host.
Right.
You know, you had Double A Ron, DJ Double A Ron, and like Little Sean and Chino. They were all there for Robbie Rob. And then came, at this time, and now it was Squeak, Ramses, Ja, and Matlocks. You know what I mean? And so I was like, oh, yeah, I'm familiar with Friday Night Flavors. Like, yeah, on Power. And he was like, yeah, you know what I'm saying? So I was like, absolutely, man. Like, that would be so dope. You know what I mean? So he said he was going to play it. But I didn't hear it. You know what I mean? Like, he didn't say when. Mm-hmm. He just said, yeah, right. And I remember, like, I tried to tune in on Flavors. I just didn't catch it, right? But then we ended up dropping the second single, and it was called Someday. And it was a Donny Hathaway sample, right? And it was Take It From Me Someday, that Donny Hathaway record, Someday We'll All Be Free. So that one did really, really well. Sorry, I didn't mean to yell. That one did really, really well, right? And people were just like really love it. It was just a smooth record, you know, da-da-da. But so Matt hit me again. He said, we want you to come down for an interview. You know what I'm saying? Because he was like, yo, like your production and everything that you have is crazy. Like, can you come down for an interview? I was like, absolutely. You know what I mean? So I rolled down there, and we did an interview, and then I remember leaving the studio, going to my mom's house, and they were, because he goes, okay, he goes, after we did the interview, he goes, we're going to play it. I think I left there like around, I think it was like 10 o'clock, you know what I'm saying? It was a Friday night. And he goes, we're going to play it within the next 35 minutes. You know what I mean? Because we have a mix that we're going to do. And we're going to do a lot, and they did a lot of local music. So he goes, we're going to play it in about 35 minutes. So I remember going to my mom's crib, and my mom stayed up. And we went into her living room, and then she had a cassette tape player, you know what I mean? Like with a CD player as well, but it was a stereo system. And we sat there and listened to my song for the first time, man.
Wow.
On the air. We stood together, you know what I'm saying? Like,
that's cool.
Like 10:30 on a Friday night, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And this was back in 2005.
See, that's a moment you still remember, you're not going to forget.
Like it was yesterday. Yeah. Like I'm seeing it in my head right now.
Do you have siblings? Do you have a sibling?
I have a younger sister. Okay. Yeah, we're 6 years apart. My younger sister, Vanessa. Yeah, man. So that was just an incredible moment.
Yeah.
And then from then it was like just kept going in the scene. Then when the name change came it was towards the end of 2007. So I did a mixtape with a cat named DJ Speak Green from Connecticut. And Speak was Jaz-O's DJ, Jay-Z's mentor, Jaz-O, right? So he came, so we started work. Speak was out here, he was visiting a lot because he was dating a chick out here. So they were together, and he was making noise in the scene. He was helping some people. He had a lot of connections and stuff. So he was on board. You know what I mean? He was like, yo, we should do a mixtape. I got a cool idea. Like we could take it from like Little C's, you know what I'm saying? Like Biggie's Little C's, C's of Leo, you know, when he did the Wonderful World of C's of Leo album, he goes, we could kind of come with like maybe like that kind of artwork, that kind of style, you know what I mean? And we'll do a mixtape and we'll just fly joints, you know what I mean? And he was like, I think this will be dope. And then he's the one that told me, he goes, I think you should change your name though. Be honest. He goes, I'm gonna be honest with you. He goes, I'm from Connecticut, but I be in New York all the time. There's a million Smooths. He goes, you're gonna get lost in the shuffle, even how dope you are. Even you being Mexican and being able to rap like you do, you already stand out. But you'll get lost in the shuffle.
Smooth is a deal breaker.
Yeah, he goes, you should change your name. And I was like, wow. And then the ego, you know what I'm saying? Like we all have that ego. We're like, I ain't gonna change my name. We crazy, man.
That's where it all starts right there.
You know
sometimes, because you know, they're just like, hey, you know,
you're asking me to change my name, dog. Yeah. But I remember talking with a couple of my boys, and they were like, he's got a good idea, man. He's got a good point, because really, man, like in all honesty, he goes, dude, if we Google Smooth right now, he goes, you barely will come up. There's so many, you know what I mean? He goes, he's got a good point, Dave. And they were like, you need to put your pride aside, all that, you know what I mean? So I was like, okay. So I started coming up with ideas, and he was like, why don't you use your last name, man? He goes, your last name is so like legendary. Because I don't know if people know this. I don't really talk about it a lot, but my uncle is Ernesto Miranda. The Miranda rights. That was my uncle.
Really?
Yeah, that's my thought. Wow. That was my Tata's baby brother, Ernie.
Oh wow!
Yeah, I have him tattooed on my chest.
Respect.
My middle name is David Ernesto Miranda. So a lot of the people that knew that were like, you know, your last name is legendary out here, man. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like you should do that. You should go, if you don't use your full name, you know, like a Kanye West, Eric Sermon, Keith Murray, you should use like Mr. or something with your last name though. And I was like, why don't we do Mr. Miranda? You know what I'm saying? And he was like, I like it. I think that'll work. You know what I mean? And a couple of my boys were like, maybe, man, some people might think you're a Chicano rapper though. You know what I mean? And I was like, nah, bro, we'll be okay. And if they do, they do. You know what I mean? So we ended up making the transition right there when we did that mixtape. And that's when I started rolling with it ever since.
That's dope, man.
You know what I mean?
Thanks for that that's an exclusive, right? That's the first time that you shared that. Who your deal was.
I mean, I have, people know, you know what I'm saying? But like, yeah, it's just, yeah. I just never, out of respect for my tata, like I never just wanted to be like, I'm trying to get clout off it or whatever. Sure. You know what I mean? You know what I'm saying? But respect still.
I mean, I mean, they it was a big sacrifice for the better of everybody, honestly.
Oh, so, absolutely.
Much respect for your family for that.
Yeah, sure. Man. No doubt, man.
So I got a question about the hip hop and the elements. Is there any other elements that you practice?
I tried, you know, I was always into arts, you know what I'm saying? So like, I tried to write a little bit, you know what I'm saying? Like I was going by 40 OZ, you know what I'm saying? You know, when I was like 13, 14 or something. But it just didn't really last long. And then I could pop a little bit, but hip hop, like rapping, was always my thing.
That was your thing, right?
You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's dope.
Some people are DJs and they could do, you know what I mean? I never could beatbox well, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But emceeing, like, that was what I was nice at.
Dope.
I knew how to stay in my lane.
Did you get to travel? Did you get to travel anywhere?
Oh, absolutely, man. Absolutely.
Where's some of the places you went to?
So the first tour we did was back in 2006. It was a 32 city tour.
Damn.
Yeah, man. First one, right? And I remember I was 23, 22, 23 years old.
And what tour was that?
That was what do we call it? The Listen Close tour is what we called it. Yeah, we called it the Listen. So that was me, Novelty, and my boy MG the Visionary. MG the Visionary used to be down with Pigeon John. Are you familiar with Pigeon John from LA?
No.
He's big in the underground. He used to be down with like Visionaries and all them. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, you know what I mean? Like Elemento.
Yeah.
He was really big with all them. So MG is from Tacoma, Washington, but him and Pigeon John used to be on the same label. And he was a Christian artist. He was a Christian hip hop artist. But he started making the transition and stuff. Had a really, really organic style. Incredible stage presence. To this day, I tell people all the time, I've never seen anybody with a stage presence. Like, it was just incredible. Really used to inspire me. But he looked like Lenny Kravitz, dude. You know what I mean? Yeah, you know what I'm saying? And so like we went on the road. We did gosh, man. Started out at Kansas City. I'll never forget it, man. We did Kansas City. We performed at a spot called the Peanut. And now you got to remember, like, at this time, I had only been to Mexico and California, man. Like, I had never been really outside of Arizona like this at the time, right? So we go like in the winter time, the Midwest, you know, freezing, dude. Kansas City, forget about it, bro. It was just freezing, you know what I mean? But we rocked at this spot called the Peanut, and I remember I'll never forget, man. This was the one that set it off. It was our first show. You know, I'm like 22, you know, young kid, right? And I remember the bartender, he had like that smoker's voice, so that real raspy voice, you know what I'm saying? And I remember when I walked up to him, we got there, you know, I was mad nervous, bro. You know what I'm saying? Like stupid nervous, right? And to calm down, like I remember going up to the bar and he could tell, you know, because he goes, "What's going on, kid? How you doing?" You know what I mean? He goes like that. And I go, "Hey, how you doing? How you doing, man?" He's like, you know, I was like, "What's your name?" He goes, "Mo." And he goes like that. And I was like,
going to say that.
And I go, "Yeah," you know what I'm saying? Yeah. You know, he just had that name. You know?
His name, Mo.
Yeah, he's like Mo. And he goes, "What's yours?" And I was like, "Dave," you know what I'm saying? And he goes, "We're performing tonight," you know what I mean? And he goes, "Oh, so you guys are the out of town group that's coming in here," you know what I mean? They said they had some guys from out of town on the road, and I was like, "Yeah, that's us." So I go, "Do you got anything to drink?" And he goes, and he could tell that I was mad nervous, man. I think I was like shaking, you know what I mean? And he goes, "Yeah." He goes, "Here." He goes, "Here," and he gave me a shot. I think it was like a Jaeger bomber shot or something, right? He gave me the shot, and then he gave me a beer, and he goes, "Chase it with that." And I remember slamming that, and then I remember we. So then he goes. He looked at me and he goes, he goes, "Who's going on first?" He goes like that. I go, "Me." And he goes, "That's what I thought." And he goes, "You're gonna be all right, kid." He goes, "Everyone here is cool, man. They love hip hop. As long as you got good production and you're a decent human being." He goes like that. He goes, "You'll do fine," you know.
Says Mo.
You know what I mean?
Shout out Mo.
Shout out to Mo. You know what I mean? And so I was like, "Yeah, you're right." You know what I mean? You're right. You know what I mean? But you know, you get in your head. You know what I mean? And so It's like, oh man, then it's hard to get out. You know what I mean? So like, I remember just kind of panting around, and then I remember MG. You know, I had to have a little. You know, he's like, "Bro, come on, let's go outside real quick." And he goes, "You're gonna kill this. You're gonna do just fine. I wouldn't want you on this tour if I didn't know what you were capable of." He goes, "And you're gonna do just fine, little bro." He used to always tell me, he's like that. He's like, because he's older. He's like the OG. And he's like, "You're going to do just fine." He goes, "I remember being on the road for my first time, you know, back in like 94. And he goes, and I just remember like being nervous, you know, and pissing my pants, all that kind of stuff, right? You're going to be just fine." He goes, "Go out there and just act like you've been here a dozen times already." You know what I'm saying? Like these people, remember, like he said something crazy. I remember, I forgot if it was like, you know, these people are like spiders. Remember, you're bigger than them. He says something like that, you know, to kind of an analogy to get me like, you know, like, okay, you're right. You know what I mean? Type thing. Like, don't fear them, you know, right?
Yeah, I'm up here.
I'm up here. That, you know what I mean? That kind of thing, right?
You came to see me.
Exactly. So So we go up there. So I get up there, man, and after I knocked out the first record, the crowd was like, they were live, you know what I'm saying? Like it was cool. And I was like, all right, man, you know what I mean? It just, now I'm like, the adrenaline's going now. I'm feeling pumped. And I just ended up rocking it, man. You know what I'm saying? And I remember going back to the bar, and I remember Mo, he was helping somebody. So he was like serving somebody a drink, but I'm standing there waiting for a drink, and he's like serving somebody, and he's looking at them, and then he kind of looks at me, and then he does like a double take, you know what I mean? And he looks over and he goes, you know what I'm saying? He's like, I told you.
Here's another Jaeger bomb.
Yeah, you know what I mean? And then he walks up, and I walk, and then he came up, and he goes, I told you were gonna do great, kid. He goes, man, I wish you nothing but the best, man. You know what I'm saying? On the rest of everything, you know what I mean? And then the next day, man, you know, we left, started hitting more of the road.
I wonder if Mo's still there.
Who knows, man? Yeah.
God. Slanging them Jaeger bombs.
Right? Yeah, God bless him, man. You know, that guy was, man, he sparked it, you know what I mean? And so we started hitting the road, you know, started doing more and more there. Did Detroit, you know what I'm saying? Well, I got a really cool Detroit story. So we did Detroit, and we did Lansing, Michigan first. So we're like the Michigan, like Wolverines and everybody. But then we ended up going over to Detroit, and we rocked at a spot called the Buddha Lounge. It used to be called the Ozone Lounge, and now this is where like Eminem, Royce the 5'9", Jay Dilla, all of them started at Slum Village, Elzai, all of them, right? So this cat Brandon that was cool with Novelty, because Novelty's from Detroit. So we stayed at his mom's house. His mom like still lives there and everything. So he had a lot of his peoples come from like high school and just his boys, right? So his man Brandon was a singer, incredibly talented guy. The guy plays every instrument, just a freaking nature, right? Brandon was real cool with Ba10, God rest his soul, man, from Slum Village. And at the time, I just have to say this because it's relevant to the story, but Ba10 was dealing with his schizophrenia, you know what I mean? He had a really bad series of mental illness, and which eventually ended up costing him his life. But he, you know, I was a big Slum Village fan, you know what I'm saying? And so Ba10 shows up, and I remember he was in an all brown sweatsuit. He had a brown hoodie, you know, the brown sweatsuit, and some white Air Force Ones. I remember this like it was straight yesterday. And he had this young chick with him, and I didn't know who it was at the time, and then it turns out it was his sister. And his sister is the one that sang on the song Climax from Slum Village. She's the one singing the hook. You know what I mean? And then God rest her soul, she just passed, I heard, over COVID.
Really?
And but she was the one singing, right? Because my man DJ Butter lives out here, and Butter's like a Detroit legend. He knows all of them, right? And Butter lives out here now. So I remember like Ba10's there, and you could just see, man, like he was just real angry. You know what I mean? It was just because of his illness and stuff. And I remember I'm on stage. So there was no stage, like you just rock on the ground. You know what I mean? And I remember I'm rapping, and he's looking at me, and he's just like, looking like he wants to rip my head off.
Damn.
You know what I mean? And he's kind of coming closer to me, right? So I remember my man Leif Erikson, who we're still cool to this day. He was the host. He's an MC out of Detroit as well, a legend also. And DJ Prime Minister was the DJ. You know what I'm saying? And they're all from a group called Cream of Beats. So Leif Ba10 was like his best friend. So I remember I'm rapping, and I'm kind of backing up, you know what I'm saying? Because the way he's looking is just like, you know what I mean? So I remember this happened, and this was about to be my last song. So after this, I had one more record. Song stops. He's chilling. He's kind of like folding his arms. And then I remember I do the last joint. It was Letter to Hip Hop. And I remember I just, the crowd was feeling it. And I remember I got on top of a bar table. You know what I'm saying? Like one of the little tables in there, the little small joints. I got on top of it, and because Jay Dilla had just passed away. Like just died, you know what I'm saying? Like 2 months prior to this, you know what I'm saying? And I remember getting on the mic and going, long live Jay Dilla. And I like yelled it, and the crowd went nuts. And it was a packed house.
Wow.
They went nuts. And I remember dudes are like, you know, they're just like, yo, say that shit, man. Say that. You know what I mean? They're like, they got this dude had a Detroit Tigers jacket on, I remember. He's like, say that shit, man. Say that. Like, looked like he was crying, you know, because he was like their hero. You know, it's Jay Dilla.
Yeah.
And he's just like, say that, you know, like that. And I'm like, make some noise. Like I'm in a zone now. I'm having an out of body experience, right?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So I end my set. That was the last record, you know. And then I remember walking over to Leaf, and he goes, "Yo, you're dope." Because it's my first time meeting him. You know what I mean? He goes, "Yo, you're dope." You know what I mean? You said Arizona? He goes like that, and I go, "Yeah, Phoenix." He goes, "Phoenix got that?" And I was like, "Yeah." You know what I mean? And he goes, "Word, man."
Man, if I had $1 for every time I heard that.
Right? Oh yeah, that's the story of my life. You know what I mean? So like,
yeah,
the gems. I've
been hearing that forever too.
That's where we got them gems, Misfits, Gems, and Legends, brother.
Absolutely,
you
man.
represent all three, brother.
You know, I appreciate it, man. But I remember. I told him, I kind of whispered in his ear. I go, "Yo," I go, "Is everything cool by 10 though?" You know what I'm saying? Like, did you see that? He goes, "Don't even worry, bro." He goes, "He only does that when it's people that he's feeling." And I was like, "Wow, man, that's."
He was
cool.
blessing you.
He was blessing me, man.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
I
mean, he was, you know what I mean? Yeah, he was, you know what I'm saying? Like, man, God bless his soul, man. But,
yeah, I can see that. I can see somebody. I've seen that. You know, I've been in that moment where I'm just feeling it, and you're just like,
yeah, you know what I mean? Yeah, he just even without the mental illness, I've seen people who they're just like, damn, making the stank face, like, damn, bro, you know what I mean?
There
like,
all in the front,
yeah, especially if it's like an aggressive record or something too. You know,
they're feeling it. They're feeling it,
bro.
You know?
So
that's the power of music, dude.
it's the power of music. It's the only. It's the universal language, man. It's the only thing that can bring everyone together. You go to an Earth, Wind, and Fire show. There's going to be Trump supporters there. There's going to be Biden supporters there. It's the only thing that can bring everyone together, and none of that red and blue will matter at that moment. It's all about the music.
Music is.
It's the universal language.
Power.
Only thing that can bring people together is music.
Yeah.
And so we, we did that, man. It was amazing. Then started touring again. I've done South by Southwest. Now I'll just give you the bio. Done South by Southwest, 5 times in Austin, Texas. That's been blessed to do that.
Yeah, that's a big show.
Oh yeah. Met so many people, man. Rocked with so many legends out there, and been to London. So I've been to Europe. Did London. Did Paris. You had Jimmy and I. So I gotta get back to my man Jimmy. So Jimmy and I did 2 projects together because he's a producer as well. And the first album we did was in 2009, and it was called Let's Get On With The Music. And the big record off of that was The Game Plan, and we had Jazzo on it. You know what I mean? Because Speak ended up bringing Jazzo to the mixtape release party that we had at Bar Smith. And we hit it off, man. You know what I'm saying? So he was like, we should do a record. I remember we were dropping him off. We went to IHOP afterwards, and then me and my boy Danny were dropping him off at his hotel. He was staying at the DoubleTree in Scottsdale. And I remember we went to drop him off afterwards, and he was like, we should do a song. And I was like, absolutely.
Hell yeah.
Yeah.
And he was like, 6 degrees of separation of Jay. You know what I mean? I guess you could say, right? I said, absolutely. Like, let's do it, And he goes, put my number in your phone. So we stayed in contact. Ended up doing the Game Plan, so we ended up getting him on the album. And shout out to my brother DJ Mad Rich, man. He did the cuts.
Oh yeah, Mad Rich.
Rich did the cuts.
Really?
Rich is like a cousin of mine almost, man, because like my tata, who I was talking about, so my father's father, and his tata were compadres. Okay. I mean, so they know each other forever. So like
he's been around for a minute now too. He can be considered
Rich,
old school
absolutely,
now too.
absolutely, man. He does all the marketing for Rafi, the law, Rafi. He does all the marketing for that. So yeah, he's doing well. All these billboards you see and stuff, that's because of Rich.
Yeah.
And so man. So we ended up getting a deal with River City Records in Tokyo, Japan in 2010, and they ended up picking up Let's Get On With The Music. And so I got a chance to tour out there. The album was in Tower Records. Absolutely amazing, man. And ironically, it was right next to Master Ace because it's in the M's.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Wow. So it was so dope, man, to see that. So got a chance to go out there, experience that. I mean, I've, rocked New York, Jersey, all over the East Coast. Been around, man.
So
you rocked Tucson?
Oh, yeah. Shout out to Club Congress. You know what I'm saying?
Oh,
all my people's out there, man.
That place is dope. They actually
they love hip hop, man.
They support a lot of music.
They do, man. They do.
So with that said, man, like, what inspired you to create the show.
Yeah.
And also the radio show.
Yeah. So the show. Okay. So the show.
Because you've definitely been around. You know what I mean? And you know all these different people.
Absolutely.
So the show was called, just for people who don't know.
So the show is called Just Give Me Five. And the way this all came about was.
And how do they find the show?
It's on YouTube. Mm-hmm. Yeah, you could just go to youtube.com/Just Give Me Five. Look for the purple hand. That's usually that's the logo.
And you're on Facebook too, correct?
Yeah, we have a Facebook as well.
Okay.
Yeah, Just Give Me Five on Facebook.
What about Instagram?
We don't have an Instagram for it. I just push everything off of mine. My at Mr. Miranda.
At Mr. Miranda.
At Mr. Miranda. Yeah.
Is that MR or is it
MIS spelled out? MISTER and then Miranda MIRANDA.
So yeah, before we start going off about the show, everybody, if you haven't heard it, you definitely want to tune into Just Give Me Five, because he has a catalog now.
Yeah.
Of legendary people.
How many do you have?
Yeah, we just hit episode 132.
Yeah.
132 episodes, man. So we started this in December of 2020, right in the midst of like hell. You know what I'm saying?
Is that when you started?
That's when we started, man. And I mean, I wanted to make the transition in 2019. I've always wanted to get into media, even when I was doing music, because I was a huge fan of like, I've always been very, very like I've always been so like intrigued by other people's stories. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I've always been.
Everybody has a story to be made a movie out of, to me.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah, and if you're not writing these stories down or you're telling these stories, like you have that.
Oh, absolutely.
You haven't. You gotta tell it.
Totally,
you know what I mean,
man. So I just have always been that way, and I've always loved. Like I was a huge fan of Yo MTV Raps.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Likewise.
So like I was like, I want to do that. You know what I mean? Like it's always been in there, right? I've always wanted to get into film, some kind of, you know, aspect of that, right? So when we I wanted to make the transition in 2019, and I remember telling Jimmy the original idea was I wanted to do a documentary on the hip hop scene, right? And he was with it because he was starting to make his transition the end of 2018 into film. He was just starting to do little stuff, right? But the way Jimmy is, man, once he starts something, he just goes 1,000%. You know what I mean? I mean, he's all self-taught, and the quality of the show is incredible.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like,
definitely.
You watch the visuals, man. It's yeah. And so, so we started. I came up with that idea. So I told him in 2019 I wanted to do that, and then like, you know, I'll be honest, I kind of went through like a little. I wasn't being creative. I was just kind of done. I was really just fed up with the whole business aspect of music, and I just wanted to do music. I wanted to create. But then it just wasn't making me happy anymore.
Yes.
You know what I mean? I was like, I just felt like I hit this like tipping point, you know what I mean? Where it was like, okay, like I've done this, I've done that.
You told your story.
What more can I say? You know what I mean? I've released 15 albums.
Wow.
15 albums in, you know, like an 18-year span or something, right? I've done it. You know what I mean? So it just wasn't making me happy no more. And I always told myself, and like when you know, do it until you're not happy. You know what I mean? And so I was like, but I wasn't doing anything creative. So I kind of went through like a slight depression. You know what I mean? Like I was traveling, like I was taking all these like solo trips, like out of town, and going to hit up some of the places that I've been to on tour that I didn't get to see certain things because of our itinerary, our schedule. You know what I mean? I was doing that, and it was cool, but I wasn't being creative. And I'm a Gemini, man. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like we feed off of creativity. You know what I'm saying? It's what keeps
creative
us,
people.
It just keeps us alive. You know what I'm saying? Like, you know, yeah. I mean, look at Kanye, look at Pac, Biggie. Me and Biggie had the same birthday, May 21st. So it's like you look at these people, you have they're creative individuals. So it's like it was just something in me. So I wasn't doing anything. So I told Jimmy, let's do this. And then I just kind of procrastinated. I just kind of was like, you know, nah, you know, we'll figure it out. And he was like, well, when you're ready, let me know. You know what I'm saying? Like we could do something. Then COVID hits, right? Now you like can't go out and be around people. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I just was kind of trying to figure things out. So me and Jimmy ended up going with Jimmy to go like, he would go like film stuff and I would just go with them just to get out of the house. You know what I'm saying? And it was just crazy. It was like a miserable time, right? And I'm just like, and then finally, you know, I told him, I go, you know, we should definitely try something. He goes, Dave, we should, you know, like, you want to do this documentary still? And I was like, maybe. And I was like, I'll let you know. You know what I mean? I kept, again, I'm like.
Because of all things, that was just
throwing it off again. Mm-hmm. So then people started gravitating towards IG Live. You know what I mean? Because everyone was home. So you started seeing people on IG Live, and they would just be doing these like conversations that turned into interviews because they just wanted to connect with people because no one could leave the freaking house. You know what I mean? So you'd have like Kid Capri would be on there with like Kid from Kid and Play, and nobody would go live before the pandemic. You never saw people on IG Live. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I would just tune in and be like, what's this? You know, like Kid, what's live? You know what I mean? So I'd come on and I'd watch, and I'd be like, yo, it's Kid Capri with Kid from Kid and Play. Like, what are they talking about? You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. So I just started like watching these interviews, like conversations turning into interviews, and they were telling these stories, all this history, and I'm like, this is dope. You know what I'm saying? Like it gave you an escape from, because the world was freaking ending. You know what I mean? Yeah. It seemed like for everybody. So it gave you a nice escape route, right? Yeah. So then like other people started doing like shows because it got to the point where it was so like everyone's home. Mm-hmm. So now it was like every Thursday. So like Fat Man Scoop was doing these interviews, and they were really good. You know what I'm saying? And I was like, this is fire. He's interviewing like Big Daddy Kane. He's interviewing Carl Kanai, you know, and they're telling these stories because Fat Man Scoop was around from back in the day. He knows, you know what I mean? So Teddy Riley's doing all these people are doing these dope interviews. And I'm like, this is fire. You know what I mean? So now I'm getting inspired again. You know what I mean? Yeah. And I'm like, dang, you know, I go, but I don't want to do this. You know what I'm saying? Like I want to do something in person. And at the time they were telling everybody that you could film out, you could be outside. It was safe to be outside. You know what I mean? Enclosed areas were supposedly whatever, right? So I was like, well, and it was December. The weather was nice. I was like, I told Jimmy, I said, I got an idea, man. Now I'm ready this time, Jimmy. You know what I mean? I was like, but I don't want to do it just like a documentary. I want to do a show, like a series. I want to do a show, but we'll make it kind of like a docu-series, like a mini doc. You know what I mean? And I go, that's what I want to do. I go, and we'll do different people. You know what I'm saying? And he was like, I like it, man. He goes, how do you want to do it? You know, and da. I go, give me 2 days, man. I'm going to figure out a name, and I'm going to figure out everything else. So I literally went to the grocery store, dude. And I went to Safeway, and I'm standing in line at the register, and the dude in front of me, this guy, I don't remember, he was asking for cash back, right? Because at first I was gonna do like 3 questions, but then I was like, nah, it's too short. 10 seemed too much, you know what I mean? I wanted to keep it an odd number, and I was like, maybe 5 questions.
I was about to say 5.
I was like, maybe 5 would be good because that's like it's half a 10.
I didn't know that.
It's not. You know, it's not. Yeah. It's not too short. It's not too long. Like 5. You know
so what I mean? That's the name of the show.
I was like, we'll do 5, right? So the dude is this guy's like, so I'm thinking of a name. I've been thinking of it like all day, right? So I go to the grocery store just to get out of the house. You know what I mean? And I'm standing and I'm waiting in line, and the dude's this guy's like asking for cash back. I'm not even looking over there. I'm just kind of like looking at like a People magazine or something. Like I'm waiting, you know, in line. But I'm in my head, I'm just still thinking, you know what I mean? And the woman goes, you know, how much would you like? How much would you like back, sir? And he goes, just give me 5, you know.
Bang, light bulb.
And it just hit, dude. And I was like, just give me 5. Yeah. Just give me 5. Just give me 5. You know what I mean? Then it was starting to hit. And I was like, oh my, and the girl probably had no idea. In the grocery store? You know what I mean? She has like no idea. Like this, like, you know, this look on my eyes, probably think I'm like this lunatic. You know what I mean? And I just kind of like look.
And like, are you robbing me?
Yeah, you know what I mean? Yeah, you know what I mean?
What do you mean?
And all he says to her is, just give me 5.
Just give me 5. You know what I mean? And so I ended up leaving there. Now I told Jimmy, I said, I got it, dude. It's going to be 5 questions, and it's going to be called Just Give Me 5.
So that's what Just Give Me 5 means. Give me 5 questions.
Just give me 5 questions.
Is that exclusive? Is that exclusive that you shared with us? That's another one.
He's always trying to find
Yeah, man.
That's 2 gems, brothers.
Right? And so I was like, that's what we'll do. That's what we'll do.
That's dope.
You know what I mean? And
that's a dope story right there.
So we just started. So I was like, okay, so now I need to come up with a logo. So I hit up my brother Hexagon. me and Hexagon did a couple projects together. He's an incredible producer, but he's also a really dope graphic design worker. So I hit Hex, and I was like, "Yo, brother," I was like, me and Jimmy are working on something, man. And he's like, "Music?" And I go, "No, but it's something big, man." You know what I mean? He's like, "All right, what's up?" You know, I was like, "I need you." And he was like, "What do you need?" You know what I mean? And I was like, "I need you to do a logo for us." And he goes, "I got you, brother. What's the concept?" So I told him I want something like retro, like kind of like vintage, like looking, right? Kind of like something in the 90s or something, you know what I mean? And he goes, "Okay." I told him the name. Then I told him what we were doing. He goes, "Wow, that's dope, Dave. That's good. It's good to see you being creative again." You know what I mean? And I go, "Yeah." So he ended up coming up with the logo. He did like 5 of them, knocked it out, bang, boom, and then that was it, man. And then we had Mega Ran for our first episode.
I was gonna ask you who was,
that was the very first one, man. That's
Mega Ran.
That's my touring partner. I was like, why not?
Yeah.
And then it just transitioned from there, and we just hit 132.
Wow.
So what would you say is one of the accomplishments that maybe were unforeseen in this project?
As far as like guests or something that we had, or
what was something that you were like, man, I didn't expect it to be what it is?
Like you probably had a list of people, right? And
yeah.
Did you expect as
many people? I mean, you said you had Ace.
Yeah, Master Ace. One that was like a personal favorite, man, for me because of the experience, because I got to have my sister involved. Do you guys remember the Gin Blossoms?
Yeah, I do remember that. Yeah.
So Hey Jealousy.
Yeah, man.
So they're from here. They went to McClintock High School, and they used to perform on Mill Avenue back in the day at Longwongs. Well, we had Robin Wilson, the lead singer, on.
Yes.
You know what I mean? And that was huge, man. And my sister was a huge Gin Blossoms fan.
Oh, that's cool.
So I got to bring my sister, man, and we went and shout out to my bro Ryan Downing. He's a Deep Root studio in Tempe. He had let us use the studio, and we had him film there. And my dad was a huge Gin Blossoms fan. You know what I'm saying? Like we used to go to Longwongs. You know what I mean? To watch. Like.
Oh, I remember that. They used to
remember that Longwongs?
They were like
across from the Center Point.
They were
Theater.
like regulars there.
They were regulars, bro. And that Longwongs was small, bro.
I can still hear that song in my head, bro.
It was
Jealousy.
That's all that little piece right there.
Oh, yeah. Kid, yeah, dude. They were on MTV. It was like they were from Arizona, like born and raised,
Yeah.
That was a huge moment, man. That was like a big brother proud moment. You know what I mean? Got to have my sister there. I mean, we've had MC Magic on there. That took me back down memory lane. I mean, I remember my grandmother and my grandfather working at Park and Swap selling. My nana used to sell gas in the 90s, you know what I'm saying? And my tata used to sell mattresses, and he would rent out this warehouse up the street. So me and my cousin Ryan used to go over there, and we would help them sometimes on the weekends. And when we would go there on our breaks, you know what I'm saying, like our little lunch breaks, me and Ryan, my nana would give us some money, and we would go get some food. And then we would walk down and you would see the monkey. Remember the monkey?
Yeah, man. I think somebody just posted that the other day about it. It was Jason or somebody. I remember that monkey, dude.
Monkey, man.
You gave him a quarter and he put it in a little box.
Yeah, you gave him a penny. He threw it back at you.
Yeah, that's right.
He was like, "Don't give me short change."
Yeah.
And then we would see this guy, freestyling, making these mixtapes for people right on the spot. And I was like, "Who is this guy?" And then he said his name was MC Magic, and it was just amazing. You know what I'm saying? So then to have him on the show later on in my life, it was like, wow, just this transition. There's just been so many moments, man. I mean, we had a billboard, you know what I mean? We had a billboard, you know what I mean? We had a donut. Shout out to my man Daniel at the local donut. We had a donut named after us.
I remember the little hand.
Yeah, you know what I mean? Like we've had so much stuff.
And you currently got a mural.
We have gosh, man. And shout out to my man.
Thank you, man.
Adrian, thank you so much, my brother. You know what I mean? Like it is absolutely phenomenal, man. Like that. Like, I'm not even going to front, man. Like, I'm not too cool to say this, but I cried, bro.
Yeah, that's
you know what I'm
cool,
saying?
Man.
When I saw that, I sat there, but it was just tears of joy. You know what I mean?
Yeah, man.
And it was just a really huge accomplishment, man. So I
really
really appreciate it.
Where's that mural? Tell them
and
what
that's
the mural's
over
at
KDIF. So then this is a good transition for the radio. So
sure.
Shout out to my bro, my man Franco. You know what I'm saying?
Shout out Franco.
Shout out Franco 602.
That's my bro, man. He hit me up with an idea. He was like, I love what you're doing with the show. You've had so many episodes. Maybe we could, have you ever thought about bringing it over to the radio aspect and just getting people to be able to hear the audio and, and you being on radio as well. I've always wanted to be on radio. I love talking, you know what I'm saying? Like I have no problem with it. So I was like, that's like a dream come true as well, man. I've always wanted to do that. So we made the transition about 6 months ago now, man.
So you're playing past episodes.
Play past episodes, and then we're gonna eventually start doing live in studio interviews also. And I might bring some of the guests that I've had on and just do like a part 2.
Dope.
You know what I mean?
Speaking of part 2, man, we got to bring you back on for part 2 because there's so much. Amazing. There's so many things I want to ask you about past guests and things that you've had on and stuff, man.
Yeah,
because they're definitely dope. I really like how Jimmy's, doing all the video with it and everything. It's amazing, man. The sound and just the stories that, because you're just like, you hear everything that you were a part of or you remember, or you're getting like the final story, like, okay, he's got the same story as me or something similar,
So. Exactly. Like MC Magic told the story of how that even happened for him at Park and Swap, like on our show, like a gem. And I shared the clip recently. People are like, oh my God, that's incredible.
I know people who still have their tapes.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
This is for grandma, you know what I mean?
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
It's awesome, man. And I wanted it to be predominantly Arizona grown, but we have transitioned and gotten a lot of legends outside because that's how you grow. I want it to be something universal, but it's always going to be Arizona grown.
Dope. No, man. So, I mean, thank you for your tremendous part, man, in documenting our city and our scene.
Oh yeah.
That's sort of like the goal here is to everybody that we've been connected with,
right?
Everybody that we've known or even just seen doing stuff in the city that might not have gotten a shine.
Yeah.
Right.
You don't have to be that successful, so to speak, to contribute to your city.
Mm-hmm. Oh, absolutely.
And so we try to highlight those misfits, gems, and legends, man.
Yeah,
so
man. Yeah.
Thank you for doing not the same thing, because you're doing your own thing in your own way, and 130 episodes is a major accomplishment.
Yeah, that's huge. I didn't even know that.
So it's an honor for us to be interviewing you this time. So thank you for coming out, man.
Thank you guys, man.
So Mr. Miranda,
maybe we can get him to interview to be the guest host.
Oh yeah, you can host
an episode for us
and bring somebody on. You interview somebody with us. We just kind of help out. We just sit here.
Yeah, we get down. I'm down, man. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, we can make some work. You know what I mean?
You just take my seat.
Yeah.
And we just sit here and push buttons.
Right. You're right.
Yeah.
Absolutely, man. No,
thank you. That would be awesome. Guys. So, man, thank you again.
Thank you, man.
Thank you so much, man.
Last words, Adrian?
No, man. I just want to say thank you, man, for coming on with us, man, and being part of the show, man. We are definitely we consider ourselves OGs. You know what I mean? We're all watching each other and taking care of each other and seeing what you're doing out there, man. And it's huge. Your feed is always on my feed, man. I'm always trying to support, man. I see even the story. You know when you write like little like what's on your mind, and some people don't pay attention to all that stuff. Man, I pay attention to that, man. So I'm a fan, bro. Thank you so much for everything you're doing. Keep elevating, bro. And if there's anything we could do for you, let us know.
Definitely.
But thank you so much, man. So give my boy here a follow. Just give me 5. Your Instagram again?
At Mr. Miranda, and then you can go. And then we have a website as well. So go to justgimme5.com.
Is it on Spotify and all that?
You know what, man? That's something we're still working on, the audio. So at the moment, no, but it is something we are definitely working on.
So we're going to close out, man. If you can give us maybe a little cipher or something at the very end after I'm done closing, and then we'll go from there. But anyways, man,
beatbox.
This is What's Good Phoenix, man. I'm your host, Awer.
And I'm DJ Tranzo.
And this is
Dave Miranda.
Yeah, and we out, everybody. And he's going to get a little cipher.
Peace. Yo, yo. Yo, yo. Ain't done this in a while.
That's it.
Yeah.
Thank you, brother.
All right, man.
Thank you.